most people just are putting their cell phone in their only.
Like I text parents of my students from my cell
Okay,
phone. Like
go ahead,
no
Carol.
never answers.
Okay, so I guess we should call the meeting to order, and do a roll call. Do we want to just go around the room and say who we are, and maybe the new people just give a couple of sentences about who you are, since, you know, for me, I wasn't here last month. To know about you, Kristen Tree. So,
I'm Jeff Corbin, Niskayuna resident for 15 years, new on the tree council, and I teach at Union College. I'm actually a plant ecologist, so study forests in part, and happy to be here.
Great.
I'm Amy Sarah Lamena. I'm a science teacher and council.
Amy, you're the farthest away from the microphone, so
Oh,
you're gonna have to talk
sorry.
like way louder than that.
Sorry, I'm Amy Sarah Lamena, and I'm a Niskayuna resident for a long time, and I teach science.
And love tree.
I do love trees. I do. Very excited to be able to come today.
I'm Leo Fleischman. I'm actually also a Jeff in biology at Union College. Unlike Jeff, I'm now a forest ecologist. I do have some background in ecology, but I'm mostly tropical. I don't know that much about the local trees, but I'm an enthusiast and willing to learn.
John Marr, also at Union College, but in physics and astronomy. Been on the council a year and a half now.
How long is that?
2 years.
I think like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's like 2 years. So I've been to 2 organizations.
Really? Because I remember, maybe you weren't on council, because you helped us plant the elms and,
That was like I
Atlantic Park.
just joined.
oh, that was when you just joined. Yeah, so that was like 2020.
That was when I first met you.
2019.
Was planting the elm.
Yeah, I know, I remember that.
Yes, and yeah, and I just love trees. Like to save trees, keep from coming down.
Linda Sciacchetti, Secretary, Building Department.
And Laura Robinson, town planner.
And I'm Carol Carey, and I worked for GE for 38 years. I'm retired now, and I'm an environmental engineer by background, and have been on the council a long time.
Yeah.
Not sure how long, 10 years maybe?
I don't know that I can figure out your event as easily as his. It's been a while.
And I've been the chairman for the last 3, but I'm looking to stepped down, but I've stepped back up for this
you.
month since somebody else has taken over as chairman, but I'm willing to work with whoever wants to, so. Okay, so with that, did people get a chance to look at the December meeting minutes? And if so, did anybody have any comments?
Amanda said she looked at them and had no comments.
Okay,
Didn't see anything.
okay. Anyone else? Then, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the December 8th meeting?
So moved.
Okay, Amy made a motion.
I'll second.
Second it, and all in approval, say aye. Or raise your hand. Great.
Spain. Here. Well, I guess I was here, but it's in the back.
Okay, so Jeff is abstaining. No privilege of the floor, right, Laura?
We didn't get anything today.
Okay. So then the next thing is new business is our 2022 list of accomplishments and our 2023 goals. And I think Laura has attached both of those.
The accomplishments I just emailed, so I'm gonna try and bring them up on the screen. Hopefully.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah, I'll just bring them up.
I
'cause I
got
can see if that works.
I had a couple comments, Laura,
On the
on
accomplishments?
the
Oh, you printed them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got it in a Word document actually, so I can update them. Excuse me.
Are people gonna be able to see that?
We can go a
See
little
that?
further. Probably not. I can read them.
Okay. I mean, just, I guess, a summary, we did a lot of planning board projects. We worked with Ace Hardware to increase the tree plantings. We increased tree plantings on Eastern Parkway. Rivers Ledge, we increased tree plantings for the recreational building addition. GE Research Center, we did a walkthrough there, and they're going to put planting and worked with them on their tree planting plan. Trinity Baptist Church, John and I walked through and saved some old trees from being cleared. ShopRite Plaza, a few of us walked through and there were dead ash trees that were removed, and then we significantly asked them to increase their tree planting plan. And I believe they did that, right? They added the trees.
Yeah,
already?
I think we caught that they were supposed to have like an additional 10 or 12 that then the planning board then required them to be added back.
Yeah, that's right. Empire Drive, Laura and I walked and we reduced the limits of clearing, and there were a lot of significant trees, and we flagged several trees there. The Union Street, I believe Amy,
It's mostly,
Wolfonsky.
yeah.
Added green spaces and increased the tree planting plan along the sidewalks. I don't know if that's occurred yet or not.
Approved by the planning board the way that the tree council had it, but
Okay,
not installed yet.
okay,
But they did make the landscaping part of the building permit, so they won't be able to like move into the building without doing the landscaping.
okay, good. The Vincenzo subdivision, walked through and added 12th Street tree planting locations to the plans.
It's mostly in Antonia Drive.
Okay. And then the Van Antwerp, we added trees to the subdivision plan. And we reduced and changed the limits of clearing to save more trees. So those were all were there any others that we?
Was the Dean Street, was that 2021?
Dean Street was
Yeah.
2021. There was a couple that were
You've been
closed.
here a while.
Yeah.
Dean Street was 2021, and there was a significant project that was 2021 that didn't make the list. Which
2021,
Or, yeah, because this is 2022.
yeah. Well, we did,
In-
more elm trees in 2021, and we did
Yeah.
we didn't do any elm trees in 2022?
It wasn't super hard for me to do this. I went through the 12 months of agendas,
Okay,
and then just from my memory, you know, how between you guys and the planning board, what the outcome was. It may be worth it to go to 2021 and to 2020 because there were some significant accomplishments in there that they couldn't add because this was only
right,
2022.
right.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess continuing on actions and events. Now you have Tree City Certified 2021.
Yeah, because in 2022 we get the certification for the 2020.
Gotcha.
Sorry, 2021. So like we just received this January.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Joe.
He would like to make some comments under privilege of the floor,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
even though he might not have wanted to talk, I'm gonna make him talk.
Well, this fellow was responsible for a bunch of the trees being planted in Zenner soccer field.
Yes.
I'll
So
get your
why don't
tree
we table what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
And then we'll let Joe
Okay.
speak, and then we'll come back to what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect.
So. Yeah, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Dave Hitchcock.
Yeah,
I'm the
that's
president
what
of
I
Niskien
thought.
Rotary.
I remember you from a farmer's market. We had a long conversation,
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, we
Yes.
did.
so.
About portable watering tanks.
Yes, exactly. Have you solved that for us yet?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay. So,
I doubt very much the village would want to lend it out, but
okay.
no village folk. But we got a new mayor, so there's hope.
Mhm. So do you want to, the privilege of the floor? Say,
Yeah, I'm here. We started a community-based interact club, which is high schoolers basically, and they are the Niskuna climate warriors. And what they'd like to do is, the name of the middle school escapes me, of course.
Iroquois.
Pardon me?
Iroquois.
Iroquois, yes. They would like to. Their first building is expanding. In one spot, they're wiping out a bunch of trees, and they'd like to replace them.
They buy.
Yeah, they'd like to replace them.
okay.
That's basically in a nutshell.
And are they interested in working with us as to what type of trees?
Yes, yes. Of course, they want them to be native out too. And I told them, look for some variety, because I remember talking to Laura before, you guys are sick of maples.
Mhm.
So,
We love them, but we want to make sure that we have lots of different species.
yeah, so I suggested beech and hickory. I mean, they're probably pretty expensive, might be hard to get, but,
Mhm. So how do we want to work this going forward? Is there a contact? Are you the contact or?
I'm their, you can contact me, yeah, I'm their counselor.
Okay,
I'm just counsel, I don't tell them what to do, they make their own decisions and that.
Mhm.
And I can forward you Simran's email address, I don't know that off the top of my head, she's the young lady, the 10th grader, who's the point person of the whole project.
okay. And what's the timing? Are they trying to do this in the spring?
Well, yeah,
Okay,
because they're gonna have to, the best time is early spring, right, or fall.
right, right,
So if they miss one, they're gonna have to wait till the other.
right. And do you have any idea like how many trees they're thinking about?
Well, they apparently 5.
Oh, 5, okay.
I think they could, there's probably room for a lot more than just 5. And if they can get 5, why not plant more than 5? You know, you get, so logistically it can be worked out.
You know where?
Probably the elms or anything.
They can't replace it at the site where they knocked down.
No, that's being,
Behind the stores.
yes, yeah,
Right.
These are students,
yes.
so they probably want reasonable size trees, so that
Yes.
Yeah, the first time we did it, Zena Road Park, soccer fields down there on the Balltown Road end, they were like twigs
yeah.
and they died.
Yeah.
So I went to Jack Fadigan, he's a fellow Rotarian, and he gave us those nice big, mostly mature trees that are out there now.
Beautiful. That was a great planting.
Mhm.
So, Simran is actually on the Conservation Advisory Council, and she reached out to me separately because she already had my email.
Yeah.
And they meet every Friday at the library.
What?
Yeah. And I'm actually gonna go meet with them, not tomorrow, but the Friday after that. And anybody's welcome to come from the tree council as well. I think they're interested in, us attending and listening to their ideas and then, helping where we can.
3:30.
3:30 on Fridays. And so Laura, you're gonna go.
On the 17th, they're ready for me to go on the 17th. I think they're gonna have a little presentation.
Okay.
There's an 8th grader. Of course, I don't know where he goes. He put together an awesome presentation on his own about, because he goes there. So he has it all mapped out, Google mapped the whole area, and
Great.
he did it. He does his own presentation. Very, very impressive. He did a great job.
That may be the presentation that they're actually gonna have on the 17th too, possibly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they just want suggestions from us.
Yeah, they
Okay.
were, I think they're actually two-pronged. They're interested in working with the tree council on the replanting plan, but they're also the climate warriors, so they were interested in seeing what they could do for clean energy and some of the climate smart initiatives in the town.
Yeah, and so are they gonna be tied in with the Climate Smart Task Force also?
Yeah, if that works, I would
Okay.
like it's pretty interesting because Simran's on the CAC,
Okay,
so she'll have sort of touched on 3 boards, but she's great. I like her a lot.
okay.
Would the club like to attend our Arbor Day? Have a table at our Arbor Day
Oh.
festival this.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good. We already have the date for it and everything, so, we can just reach out to Simon, is that the,
Yeah, Simran Uchirker.
okay. If somebody can send me that.
Well, for the club, you'd want to reach out to me,
Oh, okay. So we
but
can
we can both be there, or
yeah,
however it works out.
yeah, so we were just kind of getting, well, we're coming to that, but anyways, our Arbor Day is scheduled for the last Saturday in April 29th. And, like last year, we're gonna hold it at the town hall. And we typically give out.
Where's that? Where's that located?
You're in it.
Outside if the weather's good. And we typically hand out trees to all residents and then we have various booths.
Oh, that's right. I remember that from last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we're looking for booths. So if your group, the Niskayuna Climate Warriors, wanted to have a booth about what they do,
All right. I'll talk to him about it tomorrow.
that would be great.
When you said you use club, I thought you meant the Rotary Club at first.
Oh,
That was my first.
oh, no, I
But
would.
no, Climate Warriors is better.
Yeah, I would think that would be, last year we had a high school group have a table. And it was Peter and they had a table
Yeah, I do remember that. I can't remember what their term was for. It was like building something or something, wasn't it?
A Habitat for Humanity, I think.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
'Cause Frank came and helped
Frank
them.
Barbera was
Yeah,
there with the
yeah.
high school habitat.
But yeah, if they wanted to have a table about what they're doing, at their school and their initiatives, I think
Oh, sure.
that would be interesting for people.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Anything else, Dave?
No,
Okay.
no, not unless, do any of those trees need to be replaced down there? I don't. Last time I was down there, they're looking pretty hurt. For
So
some of the bad
the
summer.
summer was tough on them because we don't have a watering
The watering truck.
truck. Everyone's going out.
That's a very-
We have a member of the CAC that sometimes goes and puts a cooler in the back of her truck and goes around and waters things. I considered doing that to those trees. Towards the fall though, because my daughter plays soccer, I check on them every time we go, and most of them had resprouted. They looked awful in the middle of the summer just because it was so dry and so
Yeah, it's
hot.
such a dry.
But I think that the majority of them should be okay. We can double check in the spring. There was only one that I couldn't really tell because it looked like it had normally kind of purple leaves, and so it was sort of hard to tell if they were dead or if they were purple. But I think that most of them came back.
So are these the small ones or the ones that Jack, the big ones that Jack got for you?
The big ones that Jack got, yeah.
Well, they're only like 2 to 3 inch caliber though.
But sounds much bigger than they were.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they were a lot
They
bigger
were
than
nothing.
that.
So we did a picture, little,
Yes.
Photo
I have
op.
it.
with,
Yasmin and a couple of the other people.
yeah, can't even remember her name now. But anyway, if you saw, if you, they're like this big around. They were doomed from the start.
Mhm. And not to get off track, but I know at one of the other meetings, we talked about instead of getting a watering truck, it must have been Chris, that he had seen where you can just put a tank or something on the back of an existing
Oh, the pickup
trunk
truck.
truck, which would be much easier and much less expensive.
Mhm.
Yes.
And we wanted to see if that was a possibility.
Yeah.
And then I think we were also talking about like who would do it, like could there be an intern for the summer that could be part of their responsibilities, because that's the other thing is, who would, does the highway department have the resources and capability? But
For the watering.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's something we should consider.
Highway department maintains our parks.
Yeah.
We don't have a parks department.
Well, it is a highway, there is a parks department, and they are actually separate employees that are parks employees. They don't, like, I think on their jobs and duties and stuff, they don't actually cross over. But the parks department is within the highway department. So, like, if you go into, like, the
Yeah.
superintendent is in charge of both highway and parks. And, parks has one building and highway has another building, but they're all in the same complex. And I think they share equipment, but it's unusual for them to share people.
So if there's nothing more on privilege of the floor, I guess we'll go back to what our accomplishments were for 2022. And
Can I sit in and?
Dave, you could definitely sit in, and listen.
Thank
you. So we were talking about the tree certification, our annual tree certification, so that was for 2021, that we got it 2022. Arbor Day, we have that we gave away 300 tree seedlings and tended 2 trees, and I wanted to add that we had various booths and activities
Yeah.
at that event, because we had a lot of booths and we had activities for the families, and children, so.
And it was very well attended. I think that was their best attended.
Yeah, each year I think it's growing, but last year I think was the biggest by far.
I place a motion to not have a resolution read.
I don't know.
I think we have to read a proclamation or something.
I think so
don't know.
too.
We need to think about how to do that though.
Yeah.
Because that didn't work. That was the only thing that didn't work
It
so
didn't.
well last year. And for the people that weren't there, everybody wants to get the trees, so they're all lined up to get the trees. And then we have the town supervisor who's supposed to read a proclamation, and we plant a town tree. Well, nobody wants to get out of line
Mhm.
to go and listen to the town supervisor. That's kind of what the kickoff of the event is. So we've got the town supervisor and the highway department over here planting the trees and everybody's over there not getting in the line. So we've got to figure out how we do that a little bit better.
Numbers,
So,
we need to
yeah,
get a number.
That's not bad.
Oh,
yeah.
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 It's also
Give
got a
out
little
like concert
chaotic.
lineup
Some people
bracelets.
Right.
started coming up and asking for the trees
Right.
while.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
True.
So,
I'm sorry, what are the source of the trees? I haven't done nothing about it.
the town pays for them and we get them either from, we're getting them from the Saratoga Soil and Water Conservation District, but I think we're thinking of going to Schenectady instead. So, but we have to see when the ordering. date
Yeah,
is.
we usually weren't able to use Schenectady because they came too late in the year. But I believe that the guy that runs the soil conservation wants to do them earlier. So we should be able, if we can, we'd prefer to use Schenectady.
Yeah, it's the timing. We have to pick them up and get them all prepped right the day before the actual event. So we pick 'em up.
Days. Days of this.
Right.
The 29th, which is a Saturday. So other things that we did last year is we had the spring photo contest.
Oh,
We had the great tree hunt and we identified like the largest trees and various species. And we have a draft of the street tree master plan, which we're trying to finish up and get across the finish. And then,
Says it was completed.
draft.
Oh, draft.
We do have the draft completed. Plantings, we planted elm trees at Aqueduct Park and the senior center. 2021 special trees,
mhm.
is that trees
Those are the ones, yeah, that we bought right in December of 2021.
and planted them in 2022?
It was actually late in 2022, but that was the Tupelos and the Katsuras and some of those expensive ones that we don't have to buy a whole lot. So that was a big win.
Okay, and then why do we have this final one, Leah Del Mar?
Oh, that was, as far as I can tell, I want to double check, but that was the only tree that we actually
What?
bought with 2022 funds. I had to double check that,
Kinda sad.
but I think that that's true because you remember I had to have a meeting with them as I was so concerned that we kept buying these trees and they were all carrying forward.
Right,
So I think this was like the catch-up year. But if you'll notice in the, well, you probably, but I was working on the table in the master plan.
right, I did,
And I believe that the highway department sent a number of 40. And this is only 31, so I'm wondering if they actually planted trees that they may have planted more. I don't know
Mhm.
where though, so I was gonna follow up on that.
okay. So those are the accomplishments. And then we wanted to go, we have approval, so do we need to approve these, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of up to you. I think if you remember in December or November, we wanted to bring those forward. I do think if they're approved by you guys, it's useful to share with the town supervisor.
Yeah.
And maybe even like, put on your website and,
Sure.
I always have big ideas when I'm sitting here, but I do think it would be useful to do them at least for like 2020 and 2021 or something like that.
Okay,
Um,
so why don't we make a motion to approve the 2022 one? And then when we can go back to the 2020 and 2021, we'll do those also. But does somebody want to make a
I
motion?
move everything.
Okay, second, everybody in favor, say yeah. Okay. And then I guess next is the 2023 goals. And those are listed in
there.
So
a packet.
this, I'm sorry, just back up a bit. Laura, would you like me to put the list that we have right now on the webpage, or shall I wait till we get to 2021 and
No, I
2020?
would put the 2022 one.
Sure.
I think it's really important to show,
What we're doing.
and
Yeah.
you sort of forget all of the good things that you've done.
We were gonna change your wording on that, so email Jonathan.
Oh, that's right. And I took out the word got as well. So let me send you the final one that we just
Sure.
adopted.
So the next are the draft 2023 goals. So we have the primary goals under tree planting. Streamline the tree request procedure for residents. Right now, we don't really know exactly what it is. It goes to the highway department. When somebody has a request, we've heard that there's a long wait list. And we would like to be more involved. because I think we could help streamline the process. So somebody, we need somebody to kind of lead that and meet with the highway department on that.
Mhm.
So that's one goal. Continue the tree planting programs. And Laura, you've written the Blatnick Park sign rehabilitation and landscaping. So I know they were trying to get a new sign there, and then they wanted us to help with the landscaping around the sign.
Yeah,
correct?
they did. They
The
did
sign's there.
actually install the sign now, so I
Okay.
don't know if we want to leave that on their goals or not. That was actually from 2022.
Okay, do we need to do any landscaping around it?
I mean, I love adding landscaping. The only issue is sometimes maintaining it. So
Well, if it's in the park, wouldn't park people, like we have the elm trees in the park, wouldn't they?
maintain them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can reach back out. I know the original plan was that we were gonna do the rehabilitation and landscaping.
when we say rehabilitation,
So originally, I don't know if you remember this, but the tree council was actually proposing to like paint the sign.
yeah, I know,
Because we were trying really hard to get it replaced.
right.
So I think that's the rehabilitation,
But I
but
think we can take that out.
we can
The
definitely
sign's
take that
there.
out.
And
Yeah.
maybe we can just, once it's spring, go and look and see if it would be nice to add anything around the sign. And I'm sure we have money in our
Yeah, my
budget
guess
to
is
do
in
that.
the spring, if you guys wanted to come up with a plan for landscaping there, that we could probably work that in.
Okay. Street programs with residents. I think this is a few years ago. We worked with Ray and Cornelia Street residents and planted trees. Because that was an area of town that didn't have many trees or the trees were damaged. And so, one of our previous members has kind of done this map of where the red areas or the tree deserts are in the town. And it would be nice to work with those residents and plant some trees in the areas of town that most need them. So, and then as somebody mentioned, we did get we worked with the Schenectady Soil and Water Conservation that got a National Grid grant as a result of that DeRoche event, that tornado that came through Schenectady, and we were given 40 trees to plant along Dean Street because it was a county road, so Schenectady could pay for it, but it was in the town of Niskuna. So those were kind of two initiatives that we've done as far as street tree planting with residents.
I feel like they've been very successful. I enjoy very much driving down Cornelius and Dean because I think they're so much better. And it's a lot of work because it's a lot of work with the residents.
Mhm.
But those programs I think are great when we get to do them and they make a really big difference.
And I like driving up Ravine Street. This was one that Laura had to work with because
Yes,
when the
yes.
development happened several years ago,
Yeah.
the trees weren't part of it. And then when they were be added 7 or 8 years, people forget that that part is really street, it's not their property. It's the town for street trees, and some of them didn't want street trees, and it was kind of a struggle. But I notice every Christmas, those trees are decorated. People are putting
Weird,
nice
right?
white lights on them. So in spite of the,
It was a win. It took
Yeah.
a while.
exactly. So,
It was super funny. They're beautiful.
yeah,
And they-
I feel like writing a note to who's ever decorating them
and
that they're
you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Taking good care of them.
And then the third one is we've read with other towns that they have like a tree planting reimbursement program where I can't remember exactly how it works, where we would buy a tree for a resident if they would plant it
In the right of way.
in the right of way.
Mhm.
So,
I think we decided that was the best way to do it. Rather-
No, we were gonna reimburse them. When
A
it's,
certain
when
amount?
it's planted in the right place.
they were gonna pay for it originally though?
I think so, cause then,
But I thought Paul thought it would be harder to actually cut a check to each individual homeowner. And then it might be better for the town to purchase the large trees and then give them to the homeowner to plant. I know we went back and forth on
Yeah.
it, but
but then you have to drive back and make sure that they planted it where they were supposed to, so I don't remember.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we have
versus
to go
seeing
look
the
at all those
tree in the right
documents
of way
again.
and saying, yes, we'll give you $100 for it.
Yeah, I'll have to, I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Well, it was something that we had seen other communities were doing, and so it was something we were thinking of as maybe as a possibility. Although I think it kind of ties into streamlining the tree request procedure for residents also. Because people can request street trees, and they should be able to get a street tree,
So maybe we should move that to under A.
yeah, if anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll know.
And do we have any info on the current request process that we could say put through, our website in the meantime? Nothing?
I mean, we sort of know, I think it's actually written in the minutes, because we talked about it last time, is that like right now, it's very much based on when a tree is removed. So,
But like those of us who
never got
Got
one,
any.
yeah,
my house was built 15 years ago,
yeah.
16.
Have you put in a request or have you called?
I didn't know exactly how to do
Right.
that, so I know it involves the highway,
Mhm.
Right,
but I still don't know exactly.
well, I think we're all a little confused as to exactly the best way. John, did you say you had developed something?
Yeah, so I have some to the webpage all ready to post on there, so where people can go onto the webpage and request a tree. And Laura, you saw it, it was like, tell us your tree, we'll tell us your name and number, and someone from the tree council will contact you. But the reason I haven't posted is because we have some other list of people who have been made requests and are waiting, and I don't want those people to suddenly be
Right.
Yeah, and we-
bypassed. I mean,
yeah, and we
we
don't
gotta
want to
catch up
implement the
with
process
the
without
current
aligning
list,
with
yeah.
the highway
Sounds
department.
like
too.
this ties very much into the
Yeah, the
next
next
thing,
goal,
is
yeah.
the highway department,
Yeah.
open up the dialogue and understand how they're doing it and how we can help them. Because we get requests, or people express interest that they want
Yeah.
trees, but we are not the ones that buy the trees, plant the trees, so I think we have to have a meeting with the highway department and figure out the best way to move forward there. Do people agree? Does that sound like a?
Yeah, meeting with them would be
Yeah.
helpful, have
Yeah.
them come to our meeting, yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
How big is the backlog?
we don't know, it's all hearsay, like some people have said they waited a year and a half, but then we know other people have gotten them fairly soon,
So
so.
saying how big is the gate?
Yeah, and we do, at the end of the year, get a report from the highway department as to how many trees were planted.
Yeah, which is the discrepancy that I was showing you. Yeah.
Right, so I don't think they have the same level of or priority that we do, that's
Yeah,
just one of the
there's-
things that they're doing where, we're a volunteer committee, but our focus is on trees, so it would be good if we could figure this out this year, and help streamline the process and get people who want street trees, get the trees.
Mhm. I've actually been trying to meet with the supervisor about it a couple of times, so hopefully that'll keep moving forward.
Okay. So that's the highway department. Then we have purchased unique and special trees for parks. We had a tree council member who had been on, who was a master gardener, who was recently got off, but she worked at Fadigan's. So she could kind of pick out special unique trees that we would plant in the parks that would kind of be specimen trees that people would really like, so that they weren't all just the regular red maple trees. And so I think that's been helpful, and I think we should, try to continue that as we can. And she still works there, but she does. So the other thing is our budget. Our budget really is a line item in the highway department's budget, and we kind of are kind of told what it is. And it's usually after, we're just kind of told a couple of years ago it was really decreased, so we did write a letter to the town supervisor, and it did get reinstated back to it had been dropping every year. We got it reinstated back to the final year, but it's still like half as what it was from few years ago. But I think that's critical because as more and more trees get taken down in Niskuna, if we don't have a robust budget to plant trees, our canopy is declining year after year.
And I think
So,
it's hard because they have to fight the fires that, you know, are in front of them. And a lot of their fires right now are taking down the large trees.
Yeah.
And so I think at some point, if there's not enough money for removals in that budget line, then they start to take the monies from the plantings too. So I think it's really important to understand and organize the budget and then advocate for more removal money because I think that's hurting the planting money.
mhm.
And then maybe we could also put in here, the water truck, because I get concerned
Or a watering solution,
something, because when we plant these trees and then we have a super hot summer,
right? We've spent all
Lose
this
them.
money and then we lose them, which,
We do lose a
it's a
lot.
double
Yeah.
shame.
yeah,
That would be another number to start tracking. How many did you plant? How many did you lose?
On wet summers, it's okay, but last summer, I think
That sounds good.
it was, yeah, we lost trees that we had planted 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
Was the spongy moth responsible for any of that, or is it all just?
No, they don't, I mean, they certainly attack the smaller trees, but no, I think it was really the
just dry-
heat
yeah.
and the drought and sometimes even outreach because I know when we planted on Lexington, a bunch of the neighbors like Joe Hayhair and stuff were coming out and watering the trees in the median.
Mhm.
But if you plant trees, and we talked about this before, having people like adopt them, people can water them too, which I think is where we try to go. But you know, then if the people are paying for the water and or they get a new job or whatever, who knows? Like,
well, and maybe with this watering solution, it's not all the time every summer. It's just when we have these
Yeah.
strict drought times that we have some sort of
so maybe
solution that all the money that we're putting into this, and it's highway department's money that we're not.
so what if we just call it a watering solution, like you said, and then the other stuff can stay there?
I'm just curious why you bring it up, and others know a lot more, but I was just reading about woolly adelgids and, you know, some of the real big threats, and is it worth, I mean, maybe there's nothing can be done, or is it worth starting to investigate, you know, responses to some of those, you know, I guess they're not here yet, or they're close.
Well,
but-
balsam adelgid is, the, Asian longhorn beetle is not, but probably will be. The emerald ash borer certainly is.
What about the lantern vine?
I don't think it's here, but it's not too far to our south.
It's definitely not far to our south because I was in Philadelphia and they were everywhere
Or in
2
New
summers
York
ago. And then I was down in Hudson Valley and I only saw something for a split second, but I'm like, oh no, I think I know what that guy is. At which point that'll hit really hard because we don't have any, there's no natural.
In the southern longhorn
Predation.
beetle. You know, and I think that diversity is your best approach
Yeah.
there. You know, we're not in the same camp, no pun intended, as some of the recreational areas where, you know, emerald ash borer leapfrogged hundreds of miles to
Mhm.
the Adirondacks and places like that because of people moving firewood and stuff like that. So I don't think necessarily we're to blame for that, but, you know, just kind of making people aware of you know, cleaning their boat for aquatic invasive species and not moving firewood for the sake of forest pests and things like that. Helps a lot of things. It helps our trees, it helps our waterways, it does a lot of good.
One thing we have been doing is trying to have seminars. We did have one on the spongy moth last year, and we try to put stuff up on our website. And definitely at Arbor Day, we have a lot on the invasive species. We have a booth, but you know, basically what we've been doing is just education for the homeowners as to what they can do.
And we get articles in the newsletter too for the town.
True,
Yeah.
true. The spongy moth was a big one that people really felt strongly about last year because it was so visible and it was impacting. So we did have somebody from the DEC come and we had a lot of attendees and we also recorded it, so it's up on our website for people who want to.
Put that
We
in
should
your,
put that in our
successes,
thing.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
When
put
is
that in
the-
there.
What is the first warning for the spongy bog need to be mailed out to residents? Is
That's a
that,
good point.
Didn't we figure out those timelines? I think we
We
had that.
did.
but we gotta
We have to
remember
do
them
it.
before.
Yeah.
But we should
We
remember them
were
before
kind
they're
of waiting
due.
on the scrape your egg
We're,
notice.
Yeah.
But I think Carol, you put together a timeline already. I think if we find it, I think,
Really,
Okay.
it's to
And-
meet the tree.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I'd rather be early than late,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so we send it out in March. And it doesn't, we don't need to do it till April, well, at least.
Yeah.
You know, we can
They'll
say,
get the tape,
yeah,
they'll figure out which trees they want.
so.
Okay, so nobody minds if I add that to our already approved goals today. I mean, accomplishments. I think that was
Yeah,
that
that
was
was a
really
good
helpful.
one.
That was one of the highest attended events besides our growing a great lawn seminar. I think that was probably second.
So that kind of ties into bringing training opportunities. I think that's partly what we're talking about, right, is educational seminars?
Yeah, I added watering solution
Okay,
under understand and organize budget.
okay. And then we kind of have a landscaping checklist, don't we, for, often with development, they always ask, well, what trees should we put? You know, and we want big trees, we want small trees, we want bushes. And I thought we had a list that Amy had worked on that we,
Maybe, and it's not coming to mind. I know we have our master plant list, but I'm actually not even remembering exactly what that is.
Amy had started this thing that had pictures of
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
kind of leaves.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't remember.
it was a lot of work, yeah. I don't know if
No,
she finished
it was a really good start on
I
something that was gonna
remember
be epically massive.
Yes,
Yeah,
no, I do remember that.
Yeah.
it's a good.
She had it all in a binder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably get
We
it from her.
definitely had
I
a
mean,
digital version
Somewhere.
because I remember seeing a digital version. Because I think that was still when we were meeting.
Because I
Only
made a note to
remotely?
get the maps from her on the tree deserts too, so we need to.
So I remember when
Well,
we
she
met
was
in person,
doing
it was Arbor Day and we all had masks on and we were,
She
we would
was
just
doing the
drive
eye
by
doctor
trees.
thing. Do you like this or that?
Yeah, right, yeah.
But I don't know if she was doing the eye doctor thing, do you like this or that?
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
think if she ever
You're
made a
right.
decision
Mm-hmm.
and produced anything based on our,
Gotcha.
Right.
but that was her plan.
But I think we could, I mean, I think what she was doing was great, but I think it's very intensive. But I think with our master list, if we even just had the big trees, the small trees,
Yeah, breaking them into
It is like
categories.
that,
and-
actually.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
and we
Yeah.
could just relook at it, make sure that it's updated,
Mhm.
and we could use that as a first point to give to developers.
She wanted a quick look for, the highway guys. They're standing on the street,
Yeah,
they need to replace something, there's a power line, there's a this, there's a that,
Yeah,
flip, flip, flip. These are 5 trees that they could choose.
Should we,
That'll help homeowners too.
should we
True.
should change
Yeah.
it to update master tree, master planting list?
sure. Review and update, yeah. I mean, this is a lot, of
I know.
goals. If we can accomplish half of this year, it would be a lot.
Gives us a focus, a direction to go.
We do also, on number 2, have street tree inventory. Now, that we haven't really been able to do without a grant or without,
Yes, Scott
Someone.
Moxon is the one that came and did the spongy moth training, and he told me that on the urban forestry grants, the line was drawn above our name. So, like, we were literally one away from being funded, and I think just even based on that, we've done a lot of work since the last grant was submitted. That we would be extremely competitive in the next grant round, but it hasn't come out yet.
but do we know when that will?
I mean, I thought it was supposed to come out this year, because when he came to our seminar, I thought we said we were gonna get it this year. But I don't believe it's come out, so But I think we should keep that as a goal because we almost had it last time. And I think, we're even more competitive this time, so I don't know. I think, we're there, like, we can get it, we
Sort
just
of-
gotta wait for the
So
grant
we
to come
should
back
get-
around again.
Get this
Just
grant
sort of
when I do this.
asterisk as like,
How do we
you know,
spend the
as
money
per
to do
funding.
this? Do we hire somebody?
some
or-
sort of
Yeah.
asterisk
'Cause-
as like as per funding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
cause one of the things
so that's not
about,
up to us whether we get that.
yeah, cause one of the things about the inventory that we did was that it was crowdsourced based, and so it's not super scientific.
No.
Because it was meant to be rolled out to anybody in town, because we were struggling to
Yeah.
get, to gain the data, but I don't know if you guys remember, like, some of the things were connected, well, is the tree bigger than a baseball, or smaller
Right,
than a
it has to
baseball?
be, yeah.
Is it between a baseball and a basketball?
Exactly.
You know, like, we weren't having people like go out with DBH tape, it's like,
Mhm.
is the tree healthy? What is it 80% leaves on the canopy? Like, it was very, just so
Basic.
people could take it and run. It's okay for us to use because I think generally speaking, most people can tell the difference between maples and oaks and things like that. And in Old Niskuna, there weren't a lot of like wildly different trees. But I think you even have to redo that because I think the grant is 50,000. Our town would take the whole 50,000 to do all of the inventory.
Yeah, to do a street tree inventory is
Yeah.
very expensive and you need the right expertise and we just don't have that. And the crowdsourcing was a good idea,
We
but it
tried all
wasn't.
kinds of things.
we-
Cornell students helped us with that one.
Yeah, and so I think until we can get some grant money,
Is
that's
that
kind of,
state funding?
Yeah, DC,
Mhm.
urban forestry.
so, yeah, so I guess we need to see when the next grant to come out and definitely get our application in. So that one, I mean, is a goal, but I guess it would be more getting the grant. in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's surprisingly grant funded.
The tree master plan, that's what we're working on and Laura sent out the draft and I think we've come a long way. I think we're getting very close to having it done. If anybody has any comments, why don't we set a date, like if you could get them to Laura by next, midweek next week, if you could take a look at it, if you have any comments. Because we're trying to finalize it and then get it to the highway department for review.
That was the second attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and I put it in the email, focus on the first couple pages and then the tasks,
Yeah.
because Carol worked very hard on the tasks,
the goals.
the goals and tasks.
Mhm.
And Chris helped a lot with the analysis of the data that we got from the Cornell and my interns. But I found more data today.
Yeah.
So I want to compare and make sure we're not missing it because the whole plan was that we had two neighborhoods so that we could kind of see if there's quite a bit of difference between Old Niskuna and the street trees in a lot of the other neighborhoods. So withhold comments on the on that part,
Yeah, I
and I'll
think
try
it's-
and get that out to you within the next couple of days because I was getting there, but I ran out of time today.
So yeah, if we could focus on those parts, the beginning and the end. If you have any comments, especially the end is kind of what our, the tree master plan is a strategic plan of kind of where we want to head. Having something written for the next 10 to 15 years for the urban forest canopy here in Niskuna. And so we have the introduction and then we've got the case studies and then at the end are kind of our long range goals and kind of our tasks. And that's what these annual goals kind of tie into is our long range strategic goals.
Mhm.
So, yeah, by next Wednesday,
That'd
would
be
that be
fine.
good?
Yeah,
If you have any comments, get them to Laura by next Wednesday.
and then I'll try and have the inside done, which is the state of Niskuna's urban forest by that date too, and then maybe send that part out.
Okay. And then the next one is public outreach. So we do various educational events. The Arbor Day will be the first one coming up. And then we often have a booth at Niski Day also. And then John has been great at keeping our website up to date. And we did have a high school student that created an Instagram account for us. But she has graduated and moved on.
Do we have the login information for that so we can take it over?
If somebody wanted to take it over, we could get it from Faith.
I can do it.
You could do that? That would be great, because, she was.
Please understand with my limited knowledge, it's just gonna be like, this is a nice tree.
She would add it into whatever John was posting somehow.
Yeah,
John would post and she would be able to put it on Instagram.
There was kind of back and forth. I also linked her.
Oh, you would do that sometimes too?
so she would post like some of the photo contest winners or the great tree hunt winners and, Arbor Day,
Yeah.
Arbor Day was coming. Okay, we can get that from Faith.
Thank you.
Develop education and outreach materials. I think we have that, right? Isn't that the brochure and information?
Yeah, we have some, but if anybody comes up with a new,
Sure. Well, and we always are like, we have to come up with spongy moth material and, so that's kind of a continuing thing. And then maintain our Tree City certification on an annual basis. We have to submit an application and recertify our Tree City's status. And what we typically do, I guess that's on the next page. We have 3 subcommittees, and we all try to be on, at least one subcommittee. And each subcommittee typically has a leader so that, the subcommittees can meet separate from the council and be working on some of their goals. But let's just, I guess, finish.
Oh.
I'm just checking the time here. Ongoing responsibilities, code updates with that.
I still think, I know you and I talked about this a little bit, that when we're working on our discussions with Highway and when we are, trying to get our updated, our street tree master plan adopted, it is probably a good time to revisit the code too. There's areas in it that really probably need some brushing up.
Yeah, I think once we get our tree master plan, like you said, then we can go back. We do have a tree code that has been in effect for a number of years. But they don't call it the urban forest plan, they call it something else. So I think we just have to, once we get the tree plan updated, then we have to just go back to the code and make sure that we're calling things the same and just see if there's any other updates that need to be done to the code to make it current. But we do refer to it at times when there have been issues in the town, with
Yeah,
people
when we-
taking down
when we do
trees.
a walk through a lot that's changing
Mhm.
and we question how much can be taken out or replacement of trees.
Mhm.
There's code that says how many trees you take down equals how many new you plant.
Mhm.
So that's, do we want to keep it the same? Do we want to add more trees to it?
Mhm. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I think we can look at that, but after we get the master plan done. Review subdivision and site plans that's just an ongoing thing. Each month, we spend time on looking at, developments that are going in and review that. Address any private homeowner questions or concerns or issues. We often get a question. Laura will say, this homeowner wants to have us evaluate a street tree. And we'll go out and look at that. Update the master tree and plant list. We kind of have that up
Yeah,
above.
I always take that one out.
And pursue forestry grants. We were talking about that up above.
course.
But it is an ongoing responsibility.
Oh, well, should we? I think we should leave the updating the master tree list as a,
Ongoing.
as, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think as long as it's captured.
So then.
And the final one, Laura did send out a definition of the tree of value. Did people take a look at that? What were your thoughts on?
I was a little confused because there's many different definitions. And these are the different options.
Oh, sorry, I probably should explain that.
Yeah.
The top one was the one that I wrote, but I used all the ones underneath because there were like common threads through all of them.
Right.
And I just wanted you guys to see them all in case you thought that there was something in them that I didn't capture that we should have.
Just a little more. So this refers to tree of value and the definitions refer to significant.
Yeah, I think we should.
Right,
Has
so
that-
that's what I mean, we aren't using the same terms in various places. I think we're calling it trees of significance.
Yeah, so let me change that here. Oops.
And I don't know what we have in the tree code, so.
It's much easier to find a definition of a tree of significance than a tree of
Good
value.
value, yes.
Well, the tree of value seems loaded because.
Just don't
it's like
value
when
the
I- when I
other
cut the wood
trees.
down.
So do we want to
Make
pull up
smaller
that definition? It would be good if we got agreement on that.
Exotic species.
Were people okay with the definition? Were you able
I'm good with that.
to? Okay.
It seems nicely detailed. And there's no,
And we didn't want it so, we didn't want it really complex.
no, it's not
So it's
pedantic,
that
but
first-
it's understandable and it's clearly delineated.
Well, it's more complex than all the other ones I found though, to be fair. And the other thing was,
Well, I saw some that were very,
long.
yeah, like a
Okay.
couple paragraphs long.
And the other thing was, I would say 40 to 50% of them had trees of value starting at 6 inches. And that seems, I mean, I love trees, but if we're really gonna be pushing for them to be put on all the subdivision plans and stuff,
6 inches. is-
marking every 6-inch tree, I don't know, that.
Yeah.
This one that I took was originally the 12-inch and I knocked it down to 10-inch. It's some kind of a compromise, but
No, I think that that's a good.
yeah.
What do other people think?
I think it would be a good idea to just, in addition to the 10 inches, just put in there 25 centimeters, because some
Oh.
tools are gonna
Oh,
have.
thank
measurement.
you.
Oh, good one. Well, Jeff and Lynn, what are you, Lizzie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, do we need to,
Oh, and the other thing to talk about, which I had in red, which I need to talk to the town attorney about, is that many of these definitions had, that a tree can be classified by having significant botanical, heritage, landscape, cultural, historic, ecological value. But it didn't say who was determining that value. Well, some of them did. Although it was interesting because it seemed like they were determined prior to the adoption of the definition. So it may be that we don't have to say as determined by the Niskuna Tree Council, but in my experience, when there's a vague definition, it typically is not ruled in your favor, just because New York State's got a lot of private property landowner rights. So I added as determined by the Niskuna Tree Council. I'm not sure how else we could do it.
yeah,
But-
although that's a loaded question as to, how we determine,
Agreed. But if you don't put
right,
on how someone's determining, it also is a loaded question.
right.
So I wasn't sure. I put it in red. I can talk to the town attorney and we can defer to how she wants to do it or not. But if you guys have a particular thought on it,
It makes sense to put us.
Yeah.
As the body that would make that determination.
and I think part of this is that we essentially determined some of those trees on Hilltop and in Antwerp to be trees of historic value, but because we didn't have a definition for it, or we didn't have it written anywhere, the judge said that we didn't have the ability to do that. So, part of the reason that we're putting it both in the comprehensive plan and here is if we determine that there's a tree in question that then becomes essentially litigated, which we've had happen, is can we make sure that our definitions will
Hold up.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion for this, on this vote, approving this definition, or where everybody seems to be in agreement? Do we need to?
I don't think you need a motion, but you can have one, but I think it's okay.
Okay, so I guess let's just say that we discussed it and everybody is in agreement with.
Yeah.
With the definition.
Okay, and I'll just run the red part past the town attorney.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the next are the subcommittees. And we've, a lot of people have moved on. So we have a lot of openings. If you look at the tree planting, we have no one, currently. So do people wanna sign up for something now? Do you wanna think about it? Do you wanna know more about each subcommittee?
Hopefully the master plan subcommittee is slowly winding down.
Yeah,
While because we're finishing up, like Chris and Carol wrote a substantial portion of it, and Amanda, I think, helped with a lot of the editing. But we do also have a consultant for that, and I think now we're to the point where, like you said, I just need to finish with the data analysis, and then hopefully the consultant will run with it, and then it's really just meeting with the highway department and the supervisor and presenting it to the town board.
yeah, this may go into the tree code then.
Oh,
as a-
that could be a good evolution.
So, I don't wanna put you guys on this, or all of us, cause we can definitely belong to more than one committee. If you have any that you wanna jump on,
Are there particular skills that are good matches for some more than others, or is it just energy and interest?
people with a strong tree background, the tree planting subcommittee is good, cause you often have to go out and evaluate trees and,
Talk to residents about what kind of tree do you want, what fits in with your property.
Or the power lines, should you not be planting a giant ginkgo there or something.
Your property too wet, which.
Yes. Soils.
so, that's,
And if we get the street tree request thing going, we get contacted by Summit Tree Council, we'll then talk with the resident about what tree do you want. So
yeah,
we have
and to be honest, how it kind of works is Laura sends out an email to all of us when there's a homeowner request, and whoever's available and can go out, and it can be more than one person, goes out and takes a look at it and gives their advice and opinion. But some people, probably like you, have a stronger background than some of the other.
Agreed, although I'm not great at sort of landscaping kinds of things, but probably can fit it in as I go and start learning that as to add to what I do know, so I'm gonna do that.
Okay,
Tree
so we'll
planting?
put you on the tree planting.
No, we shouldn't, I think you're probably.
Pretty tall.
Yeah.
Planted a bunch of female ginkgos
Oh.
and going, oh, it's fine because there are no male ginkgos about, but didn't ask the botany professor who's like, they are wind. Like, it was quite awful. They had ripped them all away.
So,
Do you have a preference, Leah?
Well, I don't have any of the knowledge you talked about for tree planting subcommittee. So I guess I would go to public outreach.
The public.
I'm willing to be trained if there's labor needed or something, but
I think maybe they'd be interested in, sort of trying to assemble a list, like what are the trees that we can offer? And then trying to get some characteristics of them, and probably all of us would
Amy
benefit
was
from
working
that.
on.
yeah, that was what Amy was working on.
Yeah, so there is something that's starting.
Yeah, I think she got a decent ways through that, actually.
Yeah, so we'll try to get that from her.
I'll try to continue working.
And there is a list that National Grid put out of trees to plant under power lines.
Oh.
So, that's always one that we can refer to.
You get money back? Those like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you guys are gonna leave Jeff to be the only person in the tree planting subcommittee? Somebody else has to do it. We'll probably get one more new member because Chris Zimmerman he had been saying that he was gonna try and hang on until we got some more new members. But I think he must have gotten maxed out, so he wasn't even able to come to this meeting, but
But he's still on.
no. So we'll potentially have one more new member coming, but I think it would be helpful if sometimes helping Jeff.
I'm willing to do that. But
Can I put you on
need-
both?
Well, I would do the tree. I need to be taught. I mean, I know none of the things that we talked about.
So I help the most with the tree planting.
Yeah, she does. She
because-
goes out most times.
Yeah, I have
And if you're
a lot
given,
of training in it.
a year to learn it, I think it's more
I'll
useful.
put you down here then.
Thanks.
And I do think this year we should focus on getting new members, because we have lost a lot, and, you know, I think it's,
We lost 3 people in a row who know a lot about trees.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Andrea and
And
Amy
Amy and Chris,
and Chris.
yes. So.
Amy and Chris were our main health evaluators.
Yeah.
Cause I can go look at a tree, but, I don't have that much.
It's a tree.
experience.
I think she's a little bit better than his.
The tree council wouldn't run without you though.
Okay, well, that took some time, but I think it was important to go through all the goals. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, and we can revisit them. The next are, I guess, the discussion items for this meeting, and Laura,
Yeah,
any projects?
I can go pretty quickly through these if we're getting a little short on time. I know we've looked at the Mohawk Golf Club one before, and the last thing that we had left of that was a site visit. I don't think that the project's actually to the point where we want to be flagging trees, because the limits of clearing are still in a major point of flux. So the only reason that I think it might be good for the tree council to go out prior to really working on the limits of clearing would be just a very basic evaluation of the type of forest. Like, you know, which you might even be able to do from the street. I feel like I drive sometimes really slowly on Rockland. I mean, it looks like it's, you know, mostly deciduous. I would have to get a little bit closer to decide on the understory and stuff like that, but just a general kind of capture of what that forest is could be helpful at this point. But I don't want to do a significant site plan flagging limits of clearing yet, because
Okay,
the access points could change and things like that. So I don't think it would be a good use of our time.
so it's really just to drive by and get a
Sense of
sense of the.
Yeah.
Okay, where they're gonna
So-
be developing.
This isn't a tree issue, but essentially they're altering the road to put a circle, which is just before a stop sign.
yeah.
So you do a circle and stop, or the other way, you stop and then circle.
Well, this is actually complete streets treatment. It's they're like neighborhood traffic circles.
Yeah.
They're really tiny, and they're meant to work essentially like a stop sign, but only better, because stop signs, people kind of roll through them.
Right, right.
Sometimes on Mountain View, you just miss it entirely because it may be unwarranted in that location, but you can't miss a mini roundabout. But generally speaking, not a tree council issue. That was not, it's not a good time to introduce a new type of complete streets project to the neighborhood. And so I don't think that that is going to remain in any of the plans.
No.
That was not well received by the public.
Mm.
So.
Okay.
For the new guys, that they're trying to shrink the homes down and keep that hatched area as forest. And if the project proceeds, we would probably go out there and really look at those boundaries and see if we can retain as many of the big trees or valuable trees of significance as we can. And, but like I said, I'm not sure that the clearing limits are gonna stay like that. So I think for now, just understanding what the forest is probably the most useful thing at this point. I didn't, maybe a couple white pines, but it looks like a pretty standard kind of upstate New York forest. The golf club has a significantly varied kind of planting in their golf course. Like they have Australian pines and, you know, things that they've planted over time. But I don't think that this forest is that. I think this is just a remnant forest, which is beautiful and wonderful. For the record.
Yeah, so like if we were to drive down Ruffner, it looks like there are lots. Is this like one street, one set of houses behind the
It
street?
would be, yeah.
But is it currently, like if we were to drive around up Ruffner, would we be looking at the forest that we're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, you might want to be a little careful with this one because it's super controversial. So we could also wait until we were really called. But what you would probably do is you would just, you can see them if you stand on Ruffner. It's the forest that's behind these
the
people's houses.
Okay, got it.
But if you're a little too obvious about what you're looking at, you might get an earful.
Thank you. Developer.
It's rent a dog, walk down the street.
But
Get one of those invisible dog things.
it's okay to wait on it. The point is, if you did want to kind of look at it and just let me know what you see, that's fine. I just want a very general forest assessment if needed. right now. I don't want us out there flagging trees right now. Originally, we were gonna do site plan, but I don't think we should do that yet.
Okay.
And
The
then
State Street
the
one?
State Street one, the more useful picture is probably here. I was actually out here today. These 3 lots with the X's on them, the developer is proposing to take down the homes, clear everything, and just put in parking lot. There's a lot of planning issues associated with it, but you can see there's the GIS lines might be off a little bit, but this is a single family home, and then there's a vacant parcel here which is filled with trees. And then there's another single family home, and you guys don't have to take any action on it tonight if you want to go out and look at it. I was there today. I believe that this is a Norway maple, which you can't really necessarily see in the aerial because it's deciduous, but there's a big tree right here. This is a giant Norway spruce. It's unbelievably beautiful. And then there's a couple trees back here that I didn't really go get to look and identify, but just generally speaking, if you were to like break this parking lot, up, like my just basic recommendation would be try and avoid taking those trees down because you have an awful lot of space, like, kind of planning aside.
Yeah.
You got an awful lot of space for parking lot here and here.
Yeah. So this is Matthews Kia.
Yeah,
They're just extending the parking lot.
they right now say that they don't have enough places for their
Well,
cars.
I would agree. I have a Kia and that's where I would take
Oh,
it.
really?
It's very hard finding parking there, but the amount of parking they're adding seems like there's a lot more than just, are they doing, expanding their business bigger or anything or?
At the planning board, he has said that they currently lease a lot off-site where they keep a decent amount of their inventory. And that lease doesn't always work out for them. So they're trying to find a way that they can bring the majority of their inventory closer.
I see.
I mean, from a planning standpoint, I don't think it's a great precedent for the neighborhood, and I'm not
Right.
advocating at all the homes coming down for a parking lot. But from a tree preservation standpoint, if the planning board, does move the parking lot forward, this little stand of trees, I think is worth a
I'm trying
pretty
to
strong
say.
recommendation from the tree council. You can probably actually even see it on,
What's the significance of the yellow dotted lines? Is that the
That's
right away?
proposed.
oh, that's because Clark was drawing drainage on there.
You see the sun is right above, so that's the existing storm.
Yeah, the stormwater stuff the planning board can work on.
But the trees help with the storm numbers.
We'll push back. We typically hear from the developers, that tree is past its prime, it's a hazard tree, we don't need to be protecting that tree, which I heard today. Highly disagree. And I don't mind pushing back on them respectfully. Let me see if I can. This, yeah. So, that's the Matthews Kia over there. This is the first house. These are the trees you can see in the aerial,
Yeah.
and this is the second house. It was really hard for me to tell because, it's just bark in the winter, and I couldn't really see any of the tar spots that the Norway maples usually have. But that's my guess on that one. But this one, it's so
The
beautiful.
Norway spruce.
Yeah.
Very significant.
Yeah, I really like that tree. I thought it was super cool. I don't know what is behind it actually because I was arguing with them. Well, not arguing, but I was talking to them about a sidewalk. So,
So what do you need from us, Laura?
I mean, because it's still a preliminary part of the project, I would say if you can go out there and take a look at these trees at any point, that'd be great. But just as a preliminary recommendation for them to be saved, I can bring that to the planning board on Monday.
Okay, are we in agreement that we should try to save Those are six.
So I'll just circle those and say that you looked at it. Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the things that I noticed when I was working on the tree of significance definition, only one of them said if it's an invasive species, it can't be a tree of significance, but I did decide to pull that together into our definition. He was talking about saving this tree and taking this one down, and what I said to him is if this is an invasive species tree, and this one, I know it's not native, but I don't think the Norway spruce are invasive, then I would rather that they keep the native.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
and then these are all sort of just up and coming, so I think it's a good meeting to just get a sense of the project and then, you know, kind of wander around and take a look at them. Oh, I have the drawings.
If I was renting the car shop as an extending park lot, I needed to keep some trees. I wanted to just keep the whole grove of trees because you're not gonna park cars under the tree.
Yeah,
Nice brand new cars, you don't want to get sap on.
Yeah, I mean-
Or move. Yeah.
well, so I think about this a lot, like
but they
Mohawk
probably don't want to
Common.
keep any of the trees.
Well,
Yeah.
right, I mean, they
Yeah.
want to maximize the parking lot, but you could easily just stop the parking lot
Yeah.
around that lot and just have it, you know, cross and then,
Yes.
you know, for security reasons, I'm sure you'd rather have the trees down too, but there's lots of things they can think about to do, I think.
Well, we can
At some point,
propose
we need
it.
to start balancing it,
Right.
right? So, okay, Polsinelli, also pretty preliminary. I think this will definitely be worth a site walk to pull in the limits of clearing, which we are so good at doing, as you can see from our list of accomplishments. But this is very close to the Vincenzo subdivision that we did a lot of work on, and I think sometimes got a little discouraged because they kept taking more trees down. But the Vincenzo sub is just to the south, and Polsinelli is just a stone right now.
Yeah, it's not on the.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not on my screen. Sorry.
They did have a permit this fall to clear some undergrowth. But I don't know what it looks like since then.
Here it is. Yeah, so Vincenzo's down here.
Wait, where is Vincenzo?
Vincenzo's like down here. Like it'd be
Okay.
like down here. At the bottom of the screen, that's
Okay.
Vincenzo. The two new homes are like lined up right here. And Lucy's home is over on this side. So if you're driving up Brow Road, you'll go past like from I think it's it.
Mhm.
You live around there, right? Yeah, okay.
This is my
So it goes,
backyard.
yes, so it goes Antonia, and then there's a little stub for Vincenzo that has the two new houses, and then there's a little stub for Polsinelli, and he's proposing two new houses at the end of that stub.
And then the next road is Rose Hill or Angelina.
I think it's Angelina.
It's it's Rose Hill that turns into Angelina, like right there.
Yeah, I feel like it turns into
It
Angelina.
switches.
Couple things that the CAC noted, which you guys can think about, is when the Vincenzo subdivision was happening, they deed restricted for no further subdivision. It's not no clearing, but it is no further subdivision, which
Yeah.
will, in general, protect the trees because you can't make more density. So the CAC had recommended no further subdivision on these lots. You might want to second their thought on that. And then this back parcel here, is getting deeded to the Vincenzo landowner. So,
So the new Wemple's is going through that, the new, I mean, Wemple's gotta cut through,
There's no
Oh,
road
no,
cut throughs.
sorry, I don't mean Wemple. The two ends of Antonia will connect,
No,
no road.
no roads are connected.
because if, the other end, you go down to the Antonia cul-de-sac, there's like development there. It's actually, it's not the cul-de-sac, it's Wemple's, you go
St.
through Wemple.
Gerard,
It's St. Gerard. Yeah, those are two single-family homes related to the Vincenzo.
It looks like they're building a road going through to connect
no,
over
that's
to,
the second, to the driveway to the second house.
it's gonna stop there.
Yeah, and then it does actually go all the way up to Angelina because they
Yeah.
pulled the power in from Angelina.
Oh, okay, so
So-
that's just a temporary knock down
Yes.
trees to bring a truck in,
Agreed, yes. Mhm.
okay.
I think there's even wetlands and stuff up there that would make it very hard to connect the road. But it
Okay.
looks kind of connected because he made the
Yeah.
driveway to his house.
Yeah.
And then he pulled the power and, or the
Yeah.
sewer or something in from the north. Yeah.
I walked that street last summer, went all the way through, like, I thought they was building a road, okay, yeah. Okay.
It's not, It's definitely a fear. I know that this one has been hard because we were on the limits of clearing and we had to stop our work order this one multiple times. They just kept chipping away at the trees. So generally when you go out there, it's a little bit disheartening because
This Pulsinelli one.
Vincenzo.
Oh, Vincenzo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So is the Pulsinelli Drive, looks the same kind of design? Is it the
Same design.
Same developer?
yeah. No, different developer actually. There is an advantage to this design though. These lots, pre-exist our code and, well, this large lot pre-exists our code and was allowed to be high density, more density than the regular R1 zone. And so to only have 2 lots at the end, just in general, is going to be a lot less tree clearing. You're not gonna clear for a road, you're not gonna clear for
Yeah.
a lot. Like, these are the limits of clearing right now. Never really, I feel like sometimes I draw this in. But the limits of clearing right now are quite limited, but we would obviously want to go out there and check on them. I'm pretty good at crashing my computer. This. No, doesn't that work? Do you see this, like? Sorry.
Little circle thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This line right here, that dash, and then that's all they're proposing to clear
Oh,
on the whole thing. So,
that's a lot better than Pulsinelli.
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo, yeah.
Well, Vincenzo's limits of clearing were actually similar, but not executed well.
Did anything come of that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the town does go out there and stop work order. Obviously, once the trees are down, and you can't put them back, but when I first came, we didn't even find when the trees came down. We do actually sometimes find now even, so.
So again, with this one, you just want us to kind of take a look at it?
Yeah,
Okay,
keep it in your mind. I'm introducing it to you. You'll probably have to be out there in the spring, is my guess. Or maybe even next meeting, tightening those limits of clearing. Yeah,
okay.
and then the last one
1760
is also just as just if you drive by, take a look, let me know. I don't go on Union a whole lot, but every time a site plans come before the planning board on Union, if there's a tree that looks like it's dying, or there's a spot where we can plant a tree along the sidewalk for shade, the planning board will add it in. So I haven't been out there, I couldn't give you any recommendations, but if you go to Union, take a look.
And whereabout is this on Union about?
It's the old Coldwell Banker building. We had a farmer's market there, and then
Oh, right.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The farmer's market was at 58.
no, it was this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's close to a teachers credit union, something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
it goes. This part of the lot is on Union, and you can drive right over to Eastern,
Okay,
and it's pretty close, I think, actually, to the temple. So,
Yeah, it's not far at all.
yeah, so you can look at the streetscape from both sides.
Mhm.
And then if you have any recommendations, email them to me and I'll just incorporate them into the
Okay.
report.
and just to let the new members know, we're also trying, like, as we plant trees, to have some sort of, what's the word? Cohesiveness, or you know how
Hmm.
certain towns, you know, are known for, like Rochester has a lilac festival, and you know, we've got the Weeping Cherries.
We was at the cherry festival.
We're, you know, we don't really have a cohesive plan. We're just like, oh, that's a good tree to plant here. And we should think about, at least in the, what we call the town center by Knott Street and Balltown. You know, if we can kind of
Silver
have,
maple,
oh, what's that?
silver maple.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So just, you know, be thinking about how it could beautify the town, like not just picking a random tree, but you know, maybe.
This is over by the synagogue, so add more of the weeping, whatever blooms. They have their festival in the spring.
That's really nice.
So, yeah, so we're just, we'll think about it as how we can kind of make the town more beautiful and cohesive.
Okay, so just to summarize on that, you know, if you drive by Mohawk and you can kind of assess the forest from far away, feel free to let me know what you see. Do not feel obligated. That's a tough one. State Street, we'll do just a brief recommendation to save those big trees for now, and then we'll see how the plan evolves. And then Polsinelli subdivision and 1760 Union Street, if you just want to go out there and email me any recommendations. Well, really, that's more for 1760 Union Street. Just let me know.
You're just looking for gaps for trees to be planted?
On Union, yeah, so like at the Rosada Mart, there was basically no trees planted on that corner. And so I think the tree council, I think, got like 8 trees there. Across the street, this is called the Coldwell Banker building, but the Coldwell Banker people actually moved to the adjacent building. And when they moved, like we looked to see if there was any place that we could add a street tree, because Union has a lot of sidewalk and it's every day getting warmer in the summer. So we're trying to get like places where there's some shade and things like that. I haven't been out there. I couldn't tell you if we could fit a tree in or not. But if we can, then we should.
And again, with small trees, you know, if
Yeah.
there isn't much space, we could still get a red bud or
Something good for
Yeah.
pollinators. Anything we can squeeze in there. And then like on Eastern, we had a building going that had a lot of, I think they were probably ash that were basically dead on the front. And so like if we see very neglected trees, we would want them to take them down. It's actually not related to the tenant change necessarily, but if they come before the planning board's got them. And so you want to be like, okay, you can move in as a tenant to this building, but
Yeah.
you need to update your trees and, you know, plant something along the sidewalk or something like that.
Like when Starbucks was doing their renovation.
Yes,
There was a
exactly.
lot of dead trees. We
Mhm.
had them, oh, guess what?
And
And they took down and added another one.
Yeah.
So they did better.
Well, that's
it was a slog, right? Because they're like, we're just here to redo the interior, but we're like, and the trees, because they had been dead for so long. And they had to fight with their landlord over who was gonna do the trees, but we end up withholding a CO until they get the trees planted, so. We try to make the most of all our opportunities. We've been able to add a couple trees to the Union Street, so I don't know if there's room for one there, but if there is, let me know.
Okay. The 2023 calendar.
Yeah, so you guys adopted this, in December.
Okay.
And the only thing that changed, which I can email you, is in April, we have to meet in the town boardroom. There's a conflict with the Schaefer room that pre-existed, making the schedule, so we'll be downstairs and I'll make sure I email it to that.
Okay. So I guess finally are the reports, public outreach. We do have the Arbor Day event. We need to start planning that because if you think about it, March.
Yep.
We have one more meeting.
Going very,
Wow.
very fast.
Yeah, it comes really quickly. I think from Laura and I talking, what we're thinking of doing is pretty much similar to what we did last year. And have it at the town hall. That seemed to work well. We didn't have a big backup of cars like we
Yeah,
did the one year.
it did work well.
And we can have various booths again.
So I'd be interested, I don't know if other people are, we've had a number of organizations who gave away trees.
Mhm.
People have a set of, these are trees I got at Arbor Day, and let's look at them now.
I know, like photos.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
growing up Arbor Day
That
trees.
could be like
Putting it
a
out on-
photo
Photo
contest.
contest.
Yeah, putting it
Yeah.
out on social media, like, do you have an Arbor Day tree?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not sure if by April they'll be in bloom or what,
Yeah.
to take them. But I
No,
think
but over
we
the
could
summer,
do
we
it,
could do
yeah.
something.
I
Send us a-
know, I've heard from people that a decent amount of them are still alive.
So,
So sometimes they'll come up to me and be like, oh, I got a tree from you guys. So there's definitely some out there that are growing.
so I
So if
think,
we had like a little leaflet or flyer that went out with the Arbor Day information, like on that day, like, do you have a previous year's Arbor Day tree? Send us a picture at,
We can try.
uh,
We like tried really hard to get people to take a picture of the tree they planted one year, and I
Mhm.
got one picture, no, two pictures. One of them was on Windsor and wasn't labeled, and one of them was from Linda.
That tree didn't survive.
I think it was a pop-up.
I will
my
ask the
papa.
Girl Scouts if they are available Friday
Oh,
night
thanks, Linda.
to prep the trees like they did last year.
Okay.
Okay,
I've been saving all my newspaper bags.
oh,
Okay.
good. Yeah, so typically if we're available that Friday, we prep the trees.
That's fun.
For
It's actually a fun little thing to
Excellent.
do. We're messy, but
And also if we
If you want to
had
use
them
them as
help
dogs,
with
oh, right, you know, use them
a craft project on Saturday.
That's sometimes even more useful than the tree bagging.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Because like last year I had to stand aside some of the trees for the Girl Scouts to do after. The crafting and the interacting with people on trees is even better.
I will email all our Girl Scouts and find out who's available for April 29th to run a craft
Yeah,
session.
because
That would
Leslie
be
did
great.
the,
Yeah, I'm putting her down for the tree, right?
okay. And so I think the public outreach will have to have a meeting to kind of figure out, but I've got like the contacts from last year. I think this is the Excel spreadsheet of who we contacted, so we can start if people are okay with seeing. And I want to start now, because the last time they called and people were interested, but we called a little late. They had already, because it's Earth Day, and
Mhm.
so various groups already get committed early. But if you can think of anything else we should be doing, and if you can think of a way that we can do the tree proclamation with the handing out of the trees so that it's smooth, that would be great.
the
Well,
other thing to think
Yeah,
about,
getting a ticket, maybe you have to get a proclamation.
Maybe, I mean, I like the idea of
Yeah.
the ticket.
Yeah.
But another thing to think about is that we're running out of spaces probably to plant on the green. So it may be that we plant in a different spot, and then we're not necessarily reading the proclamation in front of the tree.
Maybe, I mean, that, we've done this a couple years, is that we've planted the tree somewhere else, like at the senior center with the town supervisor a few days before.
That's
They've taken pictures, and then the Arbor Day event is just the Arbor Day event. So we can separate out the two, and that may be the thing to do.
It sounds like you have all your people gathered in one place, if you can move to them. You can give your proclamation at the line.
Actually, what you did 2 years ago, I thought with the proclamation worked well because the proclamation was the day before. So
Right,
then it showed up in the paper the next morning that this proclamation of this new tree happened.
Oh, maybe we should do that again.
oh,
We
that
should
worked
Get
well,
past.
And then it
except,
works well to put on.
except the tree we planted was a sycamore, and you
Right,
wrote
everyone
everything
wanted a
about,
sycamore.
everybody wanted a
Oh,
sycamore.
no, that was
and-
the sassafras.
Oh, the sassafras.
Yeah,
Yes, and
No,
that did work very well, but then everybody
Everybody
wanted
wanted
it.
the sassafras.
I still
and
wanna
that-
try and buy sassafras for people, because it's so many.
But
people
that,
want
you're,
those.
that's a very good point. We
Yeah.
could do it a day ahead of time, put the article in the paper, and then we wouldn't have that conflict, because it was, you felt badly, the town supervisor's there, and
Nobody's
nobody's.
a brand new
being
supervisor.
told-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
She was working really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was trying to make it exciting and thrilling, and everybody's like, give me
Give me my tree. Yes, I just want my
In
tree.
view of the free plants.
I love that they want the trees, but,
I think the other two, the master plan we talked about that we're working on, and the tree planting, there isn't anything going on right now.
no, but you guys can't slip away without deciding on a chair. And, Amanda, I tried really hard to get her to be chair, and she just doesn't feel like she can do it. Because she's got too much going on in her life, and I think the town wants the chair to take, a pretty decent role. So I'm looking at for
You're looking at 3 of them.
I'm much busier now than I anticipated being. Like, things happen in the department that adjust the things. Well, I'm about to retire, but I'm not there yet.
How much longer do you have?
Well, my official retirement's August 2024,
Oh, okay, so still like a year.
a year and a half, but next year I won't be working on those hours this year. So I'm going on 2/3 time. It's supposed to be 2/3 time this year, but that got changed because it's so much in the department.
If you're welcome into training you guys up too, I know it's kind of a lot to ask, I don't know, but I think we had talked about a rotating chair, but I don't know that that's gonna work too well. The town's looking at putting more onto the chairs of the complete streets and tree council and stuff like that. So I think you really need to have a consistent chairperson. The other thing is, if you really don't think you could take it on because of your life and your balance, which I'm all in support of for volunteers, is that potentially we could go, you know, and do an email blast and ask for like a chairperson of the tree council. Is a possibility
You
as
mean
well.
just have them come in new?
I mean,
Yeah.
so we've only got 3, you know, members that aren't new. So I don't know.
Wait, we only have 3 members.
That's
Sorry.
what Amanda,
Yeah, that aren't new, right? Because
she's saying Amanda.
oh
Amy,
yeah, but Amanda just said her work-life balance won't
Yeah.
support it.
I mean, I could do it for a couple more months, but I'm kind of getting on some other
Yeah, you were telling me
organizations.
that.
And they're gonna start to really pick up.
Can you make it to July?
Would you take over in July?
Pretty much, I think I could do it.
Okay.
Well, that could work.
Okay, that could work. So,
Thank you.
It's nice too, because then you have the consistency of having lived through some of the projects as well. Okay, so, and I'll try to make things as easy on you guys as possible.
yeah, you help a lot, Laura, so,
Yeah.
thank you. So- Okay, so we'll do a transition. So I think, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for bringing us here tonight.
Here's my.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So can I just check what the subcommittee is? I think I may have ended up 2 things.